Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Day One Dev. So based on our last video, which I called out multiple database types, or where we talked about RDBMS, NoSQL, vector database, SEPTL, and graph database, and object-oriented databases. Certain databases we talked about are products and what are the websites or they're available on internet where we can explore more details. So based out of that, I got some feedback from a couple of people in my Google form asking them to share some user scenario, what kind of a database is a good or maybe a recommended to picking up. So I did call out here in this video where I'm going to talk about a one scenario as well as some use case. So that might help you to understand based on a previous product video, which I called out on database types. All right, so let's get on it. The first one everyone knows, which is a standard online retail uh, management system. So this is a more standard. I think you guys can guess it pretty much. This one, what kind of a database will be used for retail management system? If you guessed it, RDBMS, perfectly, you're right. That's exactly right. What you called out is because you're tracking product inventory, customer orders, and sales transactions. So this is where data integrity is required, as well as some complex queries for inventory management and some consistency in a transactional processing. So you need it. So as we said in our previous video, the RDBMS like Postgres, MySQL, Oracle, or SQL Server, all are suitable for ensuring asset compliance and uh, relationships and their entities. For example, normalization, you might have heard NF1, NF2, multiple normalization forms to maintain here the scenario we called out as a customer or a products and orders, which handles the transactions. All right. So the next scenario here is a real-time analytics platform for social media, which might have heard there's a lot of Twitter, or the new name of a Twitter is a X or a Facebook. There's a lot of people, or a Threads, which is a now newer version of Facebook product competing within Twitter, which is a threads.net. So you might have seen where a lot of messages will be posted, and most of them are not in transactional or structured based data, because anyone can write what are the sentence verbiage in various languages. So this platform ingesting and processing a massive volume of unstructured user generated data, and including tweets, comments, or shares. Yes. So that platform requires high scalability, flexibility, and ability to handle various data types. So NoSQL database like Apache, Cassandra, MongoDB are ideal for uh, in this distributed architecture and scalability for efficiency handling. So if you guessed it, the NoSQL here, perfect, excellent, good on this part. Now let's try for the next one. Right. So the scenario here is a software development framework, and maybe let me call out the use case here. So as managing a complex or object-oriented structures and persistent storage for object models. So the framework needs to directly store and retrieve objects, preserve relationships, and handling inheritance. So one of our example I can give you, if you have used something product called uh, Artifactory, where you keep your packages of your binaries, or if you're a Java-based application guy, you might be storing them as a jar files, war files, or ER files. Or if you're Python-based team or Node-based team, you might have created a gzip files or a zip files where you kept it on a repository. So in that scenario, the best guess is I want you to take a second, think about it. What can be, what kind of a database is going to be here? So if you guessed it, object-oriented database, perfect. This is what where it's going to keep all your object-oriented information and directly storing and retrieving objects while maintaining integrity and the relationships. All right. So the fraud detection system, this is an, let me call out the use case scenario uh, where you're analyzing transactional data across a multiple entities. When I say across a multiple entities, accounts, user, transactions, and identity fraud patterns. So the system also requires efficiently more complex relationships and perform some analysis. All right. So I want you to take a second or maybe 2 seconds. Think what kind of a database it's going to be. I did called out in my previous product video. I did called out, but wantedly I was changing a scenarios here because I do not want you to guess exactly. Go back to my other video and calling out. So if you guessed a graph database, yes, you're perfectly right. Graph database. So let me call out why do you need a graph database in this scenario here. So in graph database, you're going to create you have to maintain a relationships and perform a graph-based analysis. Why you need a graph-based analysis here? So technically, you're identifying or traversing a relationship and executing a graph algorithm for a fraud detections. So for example, if I need to give you a real scenario, let's take example, you're logging to a banking system from last 1 year, either you're San Francisco or surrounded by a San Francisco area, you're logging into your system, right? Either mobile banking or online banking. Now, suddenly, one fine day, the system is successfully logged in to from somewhere in Mexico, right? So as per the banking system, there is no transaction happened where you bought some tickets or hotels where you're traveling in that banking system, whether it's on your debit card or credit card. So now bank has to pick the pattern in the last 1 year where all you've been based on your location or IP addresses, which most of our apps collect that information. Now they have to create a pattern. How have you went back in any of your 7 years? Right? Is there any transaction they have to look for it? So they have to provide some referential information where it's going to be tracking for you so that it's easier for security team, fraudulent team, identify whether it's a real transaction happened or it's a fraudulent transaction happened. So if a bank is pretty good, which is nowadays most of the banks notifies a customer right away, coming back and saying that, is this your right transaction? Is this the one transaction you have done it? So you might be getting a text notification from your bank. If you feel it's a fraudulent, reach out to bank or go to a local bank if you have it, a store, and talk to them, take action on that. So that's what the graph database is going to help you to identify from a user profile, online banking or mobile banking, where all your geolocations has been logged in, so they can track them in a graphical format. All right. Okay. Now let's go to our next scenario, IoT data processing platform. So the use case here is you're collecting and analyzing a data from sensors like cameras, it can be, or motion sensors, or monitoring devices, or some equipment engineering, right? So you collected data in various time, and you might have captured some temperatures, how the machinery is working, or you might be observing some people in certain time. So here the platform required some efficient storage as well as retrieving and analysis. So by that, I guess you might have guessed it right. So it's a time series database is required here. So because I did given you a clue where certain time, so anything time-based information you have to capture certain time and related to some information has been assigned to the time or a date or time, then automatically it's a time series database is a good option. right? And geographic information system, this is, I think even this already might have guessed it. This is automatically septical databases where any mapping software like a satellite or your Google Maps or Yahoo Maps or Nike My Maps or Bing Maps, all this will be using geoseptical information and keeping the maps and boundaries. So you might have seen other scenario where I can talk about is a fleet management systems where they talk about the boundaries. So if a vehicle crosses through a boundary, automatically you have to get some alerted to their operator or administration team saying that the vehicle has been crossed out of the boundaries. So also geoseptical uh, database will help people to track the location of a vehicle. They might create some listed. So the next one is a high frequency trading platform. Maybe let me put your scenario here. This requires ultra low latency for a real-time data processing and trade executions. So the platform also need to store and retrieve data rapidly on market opportunities. So this scenario is I think if you guessed it as a in-memory database, yes, you're perfectly right because you're pretty close to the transactions has to happen pretty quick or else you might be missing out your trade time. So that is where it's gonna cost you a lot. So if you are slow on trading a stock price, then even you might be paying a few cents or few rupees a little higher price, or maybe paying a lower than what you've been called out when you want to buy it, right? So the next one is a new SQL database. This is an already I've given you a clue, online gaming, where the platform requires technically you have to maintain interaction between your SQL as well as a non-SQL database. So as we called out in our previous example, the Google Spanner or Cockroach DB are offers a horizontal scaling and distributed architecture as well as a consistency of transactional RDBMS and non-RDBMS. So this is also high traffic gaming platforms. Generally, they use this platform. All right. So machine learning recommendation system, I think also we called out in our previous video, but still, if you guessed it, a vector database, yes. This is technically storing high dimensional vector data or embedding user preferences. So for the system also requires efficient storage and retrieval of vector-oriented data structures, right? Facilitating similarity search and clustering for personalization recommendations. And so this is as we discussed. And what are the scenarios you've been seen here? They are not traditionally used, most of them, but I want to challenge you guys to think outside of a box. What people are talking about, basic scenarios. Being an architect for a long time, I wanted you guys always give you a better solution. So highly recommend, please subscribe to Day One Dev channel, and definitely I'll try to get you more new things here on.